Okay, so let's begin. Today's Sunday session is on science of self-realization.
So blood cancer.
The journey of self-discovery, a new topic, which is known as the science of the self, right? The science of the spiritual self. So this is a conversation between Prabhupada and Lord Krishna. Prabhupada and the professor in South Africa University, Durban, and very interesting conversation. We'll just begin our presentation. So all these teachings are happening by the special grace of Srila Prabhupada, who has so mercifully given us these teachings in a recorded form. And we always have a great sense of gratitude to Prabhupada for this wonderful contribution. So moving forward, as I told you, this is a conversation between Prabhupada and by a professor by name S.P. Oliver, University of Durban. It happened on October 10, 1975. So topics on the science of reincarnation, Prabhupada is talking, and also about what happens to the conscious self at the time of death. Prabhupada is trying to discuss on these aspects. So let's get into the topic directly. So first of all, Prabhupada is going to talk about what is the actual aim in life. So it looks like Prabhupada has just now given a lecture in the university, and this conversation is happening post-lecture. Prabhupada has given. So that is the background. So this professor is telling, we are left in this 20th century, this last part of the century, the new global search for the truth about the spiritual. We, of course, in the Western world are not familiar with the Bhagavad Gita, because it looks like Prabhupada has spoken or quoted from Bhagavad Gita in many passages. So the professor is having this apprehension. So further he's telling, our problem is basically, I think, the one that you raised in your lecture. How do we make the spiritual science reality? Spiritual as science, scientific reality. And I think you were quite right. So in the modern day context, basically, scientists or even whatever department of knowledge, all of them think that their knowledge is so perfect that they don't need any other, they don't need any other basis or any other background, or they are themselves standalone sort of a understanding. But actually, Prabhupada gives us the understanding from the Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavata that every department of knowledge is coming from Krishna. This is what Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita. He says, the science of a soul is called Raja Vidya, means the king of all knowledge. Because the king of knowledge means under him there are so many subjects, right? Like that. So like similarly, Prabhupada was stressing in that lecture specifically that everything is coming out from Krishna's understanding, and how even the present day science can also be connected to Krishna's understanding, because that is how everything is coming out. So this professor is trying to acknowledge this point, that how do we make the spiritual a scientific reality? I think really few people get the point that you were trying to make, that is a scientific matter. Because Prabhupada always presented spiritual understanding as science. Because right now, generally people think spirituality means it is very dogmatic. Dogmatic means I say something, that is a fact, that is what it is. No more questions or no more reasoning. No, it is not dogmatic. It is very, very scientific, very logical. This is the way Prabhupada always presented Bhagavad Gita's teachings, spiritual science. Prabhupada says it's very scientific. Right? So that's how this professor was quite impressed with Prabhupada's presentation of the teachings of Bhagavad Gita. And he's trying to say that, yes, very few people understand this. Prabhupada says, that is the beginning of the Bhagavad Gita, scientifically presenting spiritual knowledge. Hmm. So this is how the Bhagavad Gita is presented in a very wonderful way. Bhagavad Gita from the very beginning, for example, Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita beginning that you are not the body, your spirit soul, and your spirit soul within the body. Dehi nosmin yatha dehe. Right? So whether I am in the body of American nation or I am in the body of Indian nation, whatever nationality mine is, I am only this covering. Inside me is the actual person. Krishna says this. And whether I am living in whatever nationality, whichever nation I am living in, my body goes through various transformations. I am changing my bodies, Krishna says. This we understood in the previous topic, right? So we are changing bodies continuously. Right? Dehantara prapti, Krishna says. So it is very scientific. So Prabhupada says this is the beginning of Bhagavad Gita. Scientifically presenting spiritual knowledge. The knowledge is presented in a very, very logical manner, reasonable manner, which nobody can refute. What does science mean? Science means it is universally acceptable. Whether I'm studying science in Australia or Africa, the principles remain the same, right? So this is the beginning of Bhagavad Gita, like how scientifically the whole knowledge, spiritual knowledge is presented. Therefore, I raise the question, what is transmigration of the soul? But nobody could reply properly. It looks like Prabhupada was addressing the university professors and students. And Prabhupada has asked the question, what is transmigration of the soul? Because nobody is aware of what it is. Because they all think it is some philosophy and some understanding which is not relevant for us. So they're not able to reply to this question, basic question, which is very much part of our existence. What is transmigration of the soul? Prabhupada says we are changing bodies. There are so many varieties of bodies, and we may enter into any one of them after death. This is the real problem of life. Very to the point Prabhupada is making that see, in our present life we are changing bodies from childhood up to now. How many bodies you have changed? And we're going to continue to change bodies like this. And also not only that, after you leave this body, what will happen to you? You're going to get one more body, and what is the next body will be like? That body will depend on your activities, this life, and all the other baggage you're carrying as karma. And in the whole creation, there are 84 lakh varieties of bodies available. They're called species of life. You may get any type of body based on your actions. Just see how subtly the laws of nature are working. And we are all subject to this type of a repetition of birth and death. And changing bodies, we are all very much, we are all influenced by these things. But even then, we are totally oblivious and unaware of, I don't care. So the example Prabhupada gives about the goats are very happy munching the green grass. They don't know the next moment they will be slaughtered. So material nature is slaughtering each one of us. Means it is ending this body and facilitating one more body, but we are thinking, I'm very happy now. Totally ignorant about our present existence. This is the problem. So the fact of truth is that we are changing bodies. There are so many varieties of bodies, and we may enter into any of them after death. This is the real problem of life. So generally, the point people have, or the understanding people have is modern day scientific people. After death, everything is over. No. Life is a journey. It's a journey going on. After death, you'll get one more body. And life is not finished. Life will continue. This is the real problem of life, Prabhupada says. And further, Prabhupada explains from Bhagavad Gita, Prakrite kriyamanani gunai karmani sarvashaha. Nature is working, providing us with material bodies. Right? So, how we're getting different bodies? By the arrangement of material nature. Nature is working under Krishna's direction. And she is producing different bodies. So this is how things are. This we may not be grossly able to see things, how things are happening, but it is happening, which you have to accept. This is all given, this is all explained in the Bhagavad Gita very nicely. So this is what Prabhupada want to tell us. That is a science. Science. This science has to be understood in a specific manner. Just like you have to understand physics or any department of science, you have to go through a specific discipline, right? Then you have to understand in a specific manner. Similarly, spiritual science has a procedure, has a way, has a discipline to understand. That's what Prabhupada want to tell us. And all of this is very much part of our existence. We are going through change of bodies in this life. And after this body, when you die, you get one more body. These are all facts. Whether you accept it or not accept it, it is left to you. But fact is a fact. Right? So nature is working, providing us with material bodies. And further, Prabhupada says, this body is a machine. This machine is just like a car, has been offered to us by material nature, by the order of God, Krishna. This is again Bhagavad Gita statement. Krishna says, this body is a machine, yantra rudhani mayaya. Means this body is manufactured by Maya under direction of Krishna, under the order of Krishna. Very important principle you have to understand. Because we think this body is all made by my father and mother. Father and mother are only instruments for facilitating your birth. But all actions with regard to making this body or manufacturing this body is happening by material nature. Just like the machinery, the different ingredients for manufacturing any machine is all there available, but it has to be manipulated and brought together and assembled. That is done by whom? By you as a person. So likewise, the facilitation of different living entities getting a specific mother and father as parents, or the soul being transferred from one life to one more life. All these are very subtle laws of subtle laws for work functioning happening, which we are totally unaware of. All this is explained in Bhagavad Gita very nicely, systematically. So we have to go through those teachings carefully and understand it's all about our own life, about things around us. Right? So Prabhupada is telling, this is what is the present situation, that people are totally unaware about it. And our body is actually sort of an instrument, machine. And this machine is offered by material nature under the order of Krishna. So the real purpose of life is to stop this perpetual transmigration from one body to another, and revive our original spiritual position so that we can live an eternal blissful life of knowledge. This is the aim of life. So why Prabhupada was stressing on the point with regard to the professor when he said, yes, spirituality is it's not presented scientifically to us. That's why it is neglected, or it is not having any relevance in our present day situation. So Prabhupada is trying to tell us this perpetual transmigration is happening in our journey of life, from one body to another, right? It is going on. Nobody wants to change his body, but change is inevitable. You cannot say, no, I don't want a body. You have to get one more body. After, say 10 years, your body would have changed to a different situation. You've grown 10 years older. And in fact, when we leave this body, it is known as death. We have to take one more body. This is a fact. No, I'll not take one more body. You are now to decide. There are so many other higher laws functioning, which is all you are under the laws of nature, laws of karma. Just like you can say, I will not follow the traffic rules. If you don't follow, you'll be penalized, whether you like or don't like. That's how the laws function. So we have to acknowledge and recognize that there is an authority. There is something superior to me. I am not all in all. This is the wrong understanding people have. They will very much acknowledge the presence of the government or judiciary or police, but they will fail to recognize the laws of nature, laws of karma, and the hand of God in all our actions. That is the problem. So, right now, we have to little contemplate on with regard to our present situation of life and what's going on around us. And people are changing their bodies, people are taking different life forms. So, the whole aim of life is to revive our original spiritual position. Right? Given the situation, given a chance, I don't want to change the body, but I am forced to change the body right now. Right? I want eternal life. I want always blissful situation. I want to be a situation where I know everything. That is our actual nature. That is called Sachidananda nature. What does Sachidananda mean? Sachidananda means, Sat means eternal, ever existing. Chit means all knowing. And Ananda means all blissful. Our soul is hankering for these three aspects. Permanency, complete understanding, and joyfulness is our seeking always. But right now we are in a situation wherein we are not experiencing this. Contrary to that, we are experiencing temporary nature. This body doesn't last. I want to go on, pull on as much time as possible. That's why when I become diseased, I rush to doctor. When I'm growing old, I'm taking precautions to see that I prolong my life. Right? I want to know, understand things as much as possible. I'm endeavoring for that always. Right? Reading books, understanding through media, through television, so many things. And I want to always have a happy situation, joyful situation. Right? But contrary to that, what is happening? I am experiencing miserable situations. Nobody wants disease, but disease comes. Nobody wants to grow old. Old age is very much there. So this is contrary to my nature. The aim of life is to revive our original spiritual position, so that we can come back to our original situation. This is what scripture says. This is what the Vedic wisdom is giving us the understanding. So Bhagavad Gita is actually teaching us this aspect of life, how to act in life. So if reviving our original spiritual situation or nature is the purpose of life, aim of life, where to get this understanding? Bhagavad Gita is teaching us. Prabhupada comes to this point now. So then this professor started telling, the conception of transmigration is not, of course, in the Christian religion. Right? Again, transmigration aspect, which means after this life is over, you get one more life. This aspect, is not in the Christian religion, he says. In fact, Christian religion doesn't even accept the laws of karma. Right? So they say, who has seen what has happened? Whatever I'm going through is this life over. Limited understanding. Right? So this professor is very honestly admitting that aspect, that yes, in Christian religion, we don't have this concept of transmigration. So Prabhupada says, again, Prabhupada is bringing the point of science. It's not a question of religion. Religion is a kind of faith that develops according to time and circumstances. Very nice, perspective Prabhupada is giving. Right now, people say religion means a faith. Right? I believe this. I believe that animals have no soul. This is your belief. But what is the fact? Right? So, religion is wrongly understood in terms of a kind of faith that people have commonly agreed upon or commonly understood in that way, or a tradition. We have been understanding this from our forefathers. That is not religion. Actually, religion is not the correct translation of the word dharma. Right? Dharma means what is the fact with regard to our existence, what sustains us. Right? So Prabhupada is correcting this understanding of the professor with regard to the very basic definition of what is religion. So this professor wanted to tell that, hi, in our religion we don't accept or we don't believe in transmigration of soul. Prabhupada says it's not a question of religion. Religion right now is being misinterpreted and wrongly understood as a kind of faith with regard to different situations and circumstances. But the fact is that reality is that we are all spirit souls. Whether you accept or not accept is a different matter. The reality is that we are all spirit souls. We are not the body. We are spiritual beings trapped in the body. Our real interest lies in understanding this simple fact. Prabhupada says, with the laws of material nature, we are carried from one body to another. These are all facts, right? Why our bodies are changing, and what is governing this change of body? These are all points of contemplation. It's all the points which need to be thought over. We are changing bodies. It's inevitable. Sometimes we are happy, sometimes distressed, sometimes in the heavenly planets, sometimes in lower planets. So our life is. Right? And human life is meant for stopping this process of transmigration and reviving our original consciousness. When we get a human form, we are supposed to say, elevate ourselves to the understanding that why all these problems, right? As we were discussing, our human nature is rather spiritual nature is what? Eternality, full knowledge, and joyfulness, blissfulness. Right? We are hankering for this spiritual nature called Satchidananda. And we don't want distress. We don't want dukkha. Right? We want permanency in everything what we do. But much contrary to our situation right now, we are not experiencing them. We are looking for them. Right? And every endeavor of human life is meant to achieve this Satchidananda nature. But we are defeated again and again. So Prabhupada says human life is meant to stop this process of transmigration. So if something is not working out, you have to find out some other way. So scriptures say, you are figuring out things in your own way will never be successful. You have to take help of authorities. And that authority is Bhagavad Gita and books of Vedic wisdom. Right? On your own, you start figuring out things. You will not be able to come to any conclusion. Rather, it will be imperfect understanding. So human life is meant for stopping because we are experiencing day in and day out so many situations of non-permanency, miseries. Right? I want happiness. I want permanency in my situation, in my life. Right? So Prabhupada says, is reviving our spiritual consciousness, original consciousness, and stopping this transmigration. This is the purpose of life, aim of life.
Yes.
So further, Prabhupada says, we have to go back home, back to Godhead, and live eternally. This is the whole scheme of Vedic literature. So Prabhupada is bringing a very wonderful perspective with regard to what should be our outlook, what should be our approach in life. Yeah, whole life busy with some research of some subject matter, or busy in your own field of activity with regard to I'm in the manufacturing field, I'm in business field, I'm that, and whole life goes with the least understanding of who you are. Right, first of all, understand who you are. Unless this life is there, after that, what will happen to you also don't know. You would have done a lot of research on some specific subject matter, but after this life is over, you're somewhere, you're going to go somewhere. Right? So these are all facts of life. Like this Prabhupada is trying to tell us that the Vedic literatures is giving us a scheme of things, plan of Lord Krishna. In fact, in the Bhagavad Gita, very nicely Krishna says, we have to align ourselves with the plan of the Supreme Lord Krishna, because it is his world. Right? When you're working in a firm or a company or a factory organization, we have to align ourselves with the company's mission, organization's mission, goal. Not that I have individual plans, independent plans. And sooner or later, you'll be evicted or out of that whole organization. So similarly, we have to align ourselves with the plan of Supreme Lord Krishna. What is the purpose of this creation? Why am I here? What I should be doing? These questions should come in our consciousness. Otherwise, oh, nothing, I'm just here, I'm just going on. If that is the consciousness we have, then this opportunity given to us as human form of life, will be very, very soon taken away. And will be degraded to other lower life forms. That's the point. So the Vedic literature is giving us this perspective of life with regard to we have to go back home, back to Godhead, and live eternally. That is the aim of life. The whole scheme of Vedic literature is to facilitate this in whatever way possible in the human society. The different arrangements Vedic system, Vedic societies, Vedic literatures are proposing is to bring back or revive our consciousness. That is the point. The Bhagavad Gita gives the synopsis of how to act in this life. You see, the whole essence of how to connect ourselves in this human form of life, Bhagavad Gita is teaching us synopsis. Because we don't have that much privilege or comfort to go through all the Vedic literatures. Vedic literatures are very vast. It's like an ocean. Somebody gives us a synopsis, essence. This much you understand enough and follow this in our life. That is the sign of intelligence. Therefore, through the teachings of Bhagavad Gita, we can begin to understand the constitutional position of the soul. Let's see. Who are you? Why are you going through so much miseries? How can I stop these miseries, problems? How can I be always happy? This is what Bhagavad Gita is teaching us. Right? So, teachings of Bhagavad Gita will give you the preliminary understanding of the facts of life, reality of life. So Prabhupada further elaborates. Actually, Bhagavad Gita is explaining everything logically and scientifically. Because generally, we may think, okay, maybe Bhagavad Gita is a philosophical book of knowledge. So it may not be presenting things scientifically. Science means what? Experimentally verifiable. It should be universally acceptable. That is what people think science is. So Bhagavad Gita may not be universally acceptable. It may not be experimentally verifiable. Prabhupada never presented Bhagavad Gita in that way. In fact, Bhagavad Gita is the topmost science. Very logically, reasonably, and scientifically, everything is presented. Nobody can refute the facts which Krishna is explaining in Bhagavad Gita so wonderfully. Right? So, so far we have understood that the aim of life is to revive our spiritual consciousness, Krishna consciousness. And Bhagavad Gita is that synopsis which is giving us the directions of how to achieve that aim of life. Right? And further, Prabhupada is going to explain how scientific and logical and reasonable Bhagavad Gita is. So Prabhupada says, first of all, you have to understand that what we are. Am I this body or something else? Very interestingly, when Prabhupada went to in one of the schools in the Western countries, in the classroom, there were many boys who were all maybe in the age group of 10 to 14 years. So he called one boy on the stage and asked, and started asking him simple questions. He lifted his hand and told that boy's hand, what is this? So the boy said, my hand. And Prabhupada pointed out his head and told, what is this? It's my head. And then Prabhupada was trying to explain the children in the school in a very simple manner. So my hand, my leg, my body, I assign the ownership of different parts of my body to one person, my. I don't say I hand, I leg, I head. I say my. My means all these different bodily parts belong to one person. Who is that person? This is the point. So Prabhupada says, first of all, you have to understand what we are. Am I this body or something else? When I'm assigning the ownership of this my body or even the possessions of my body, say, this is my mobile, this is my car, this is my house. Who is that person I? is the point. So the first question we should have is, am I this body or something else? So this is a very important point. We have to deliberate on it, because this is the basic understanding, beginning of spiritual life, Prabhupada says. This is the first question. I was trying to answer this, but some people in my audience thought it was a kind of Hindu culture. It is not Hindu culture, it is a scientific conception. You see. So Prabhupada was delivering his lecture to the faculty and the university professors and the students. He was trying to address this point. Am I this body or something else? Because this body leaves, or this body will remain here even after I leave this body, right? So this is not any specific to one culture or one religion or one caste, no, or nationality. This understanding is scientific. Scientific meaning universally acceptable and experimentally verifiable. Very important, right? It is proved. Who am I? You can go to any part of this universe, you'll get the same answer. You are a child for some time, then you become a boy, then you become a young man, and then you become an old man. This is what we experience with any human being, any nationality, at least on this earth. Right? In this way, you are always changing bodies. It is a fact. It is not a Hindu conception of religion. It applies to everyone. Right? So Prabhupada is presenting the whole subject matter in a very scientific manner. It's not a Hindu understanding that, oh, I believe in my religion that, oh, my body changes. In your religion doesn't change. No. Prabhupada gives the quote from Bhagavad Gita, Dehi nosmin yatha dehe kaumaram yavvanam jara, tatha dehantara praptir dhiras tatrana muhyati. As the embodied soul continuously passes in this body from boyhood to youth to old age, the soul similarly passes into another body at death. A sober person is not bewildered by such a change. Right? So very nicely Krishna is explaining this. We have been discussing at the beginning of this session about how Krishna is presenting us a fact with regard to our own life, that the person I is going through transformations with my body, right? And his body is going through transformation of boyhood to youth to old age. So Krishna is saying, there will be at one point of time in this body will become useless and old. It will take one more body. That is called death. And getting a new body is called birth. Krishna says, Dhira, a sober person is not bewildered with such a change. Otherwise, we too much, we are too much grief-stricken when somebody dies. Oh, and we're very jubilant, very happy when somebody is born in your family. Right? But this is all part of life. Krishna says, a sober person means a cool-headed person, a person with good intelligence. He is not bewildered by such a change. Prabhupada gives his own personal example in his life, how when he was a householder, right? He used to, his son was 2, 3 years old. So his son used to think, earlier they used to have gramophones, right? So the gramophone used to make sound with that speaker. So his son used to think, maybe there is a demon sitting inside that big speaker and he's speaking, who is making it bigger. Which means, for a small child, the functioning of a gramophone is a bewilderment. Right? At least I remember, when we were very small kids, we used to see aeroplane going on the sky, and then we used to say tata, 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 as though it is going without any independently it is going on. It is bewilderment for us because we don't have understanding. We don't have facts. So, whereas a sober person, a person who is intelligent enough to see things in fact, they are not bewildered by such a change. A very wonderful understanding. In the Bhagavad Gita, everything is explained very logically, very scientifically. It is not a sentimental explanation. Okay, it's not, out of I like it, or because I feel it. Not like that. It is a logical, scientific explanation. It's not a sentimental explanation. Prabhupada further says about this body. What is this body actually? This body is always dead. Hmm. The professor further trying to put his viewpoint. He's telling, okay, sorry. The problem, as I see it, is how to get modern man to make an in-depth study of what is contained or outlined in this book, in Bhagavad Gita, especially when he is caught up in an education system that denies a place for this very concept or even the philosophy of it. There is either complete neutrality or just a simple rejection of these truths. Right? This is the present situation even now all over the world. The modern man, he thinks that he is very well educated, very well aware of facts. He's very scientifically advanced, technologically very much progressed. So he thinks that Bhagavad Gita is all primitive, or religious books of wisdom are all primitive. Right? The education system itself is designed in a way that it is, as this professor is telling, either it is rejecting these facts or it is complete, okay, I don't want to get into those discussions. It's all religious. It's all subject matters of religion. No, I don't know. But Prabhupada says, no, this is the way modern day things are being presented, but it is not a thing. Even the professor is acknowledging this aspect. We have to go or understand things scientifically. Prabhupada is trying to understand from the professor whether the modern day scientific fraternity on the education system, they do not accept the soul, he's asking. For which professor says, they accept the soul, I think so, but they do not care to analyze what it means. Very nice understanding, right? Yes, some people accept, some people don't accept, but mostly they don't care to analyze what it means. So Prabhupada says, without analyzing this, what is the situation? First of all, they should analyze the distinction between a dead body and a living body. So Prabhupada is trying to tell us, we have to analyze our present situation, our life. Not that we are blindly going on with one conception of life in a particular way, and one fine day you are no more in this material world, you are not even addressed the problem of your life, and you're over. You are leaving this body, or rather you die like any other entity. Then what is the point of you getting a human body? So our acharyas say, spiritual masters say, that now that you've got a human form of life, Manusya Janama Paibe, Radha Krishna na bhajibe. You have got a human form of life and you are not understanding the purpose of life is to revive your spiritual consciousness and worship Radha Krishna. Then knowingly you're drinking poison. Janiya Shuniya Visha Khaibe. You are knowingly drinking poison. What is the point? So that way you're spoiling your own life. Prabhupada says, if you don't analyze what is the purpose of life, what is this body all about, at least begin your analysis like this way. The distinction between a living body and a dead body, because life, death is all very much part of our routine life we are seeing. The body is always dead, just like a motor car without a driver. The body which you are thinking right now is living. Next moment it can be inactive and without any reaction, without any interaction with anybody. The Prabhupada is giving a nice example. The body is actually always dead. It's like a motor car without a driver. It's like all of you will have one or the other way of conveyance. As long as the motor car is driven by you or a driver, it moves. Otherwise, you park it in your place. It'll stand there for n number of years as long as you move it or touch it. The body is like that. The body is a car. Body is an instrument. Until the soul is there within the body will be activated, moving. But right now, I am misidentifying myself with the body and think I am the body. This is the wrong understanding. This is called bodily conception or misconception that what I am. Prabhupada is trying to understand. Unless you analyze what you are, how will you understand the facts and truths? So the body is always dead, just like a motor car without a driver. The car is always a lump of matter. Similarly, this body with or without the soul is lump of matter. Right? This is a fact. This like the car is only matter. So this body also is matter, actually. So this professor is trying to further, understand the points. It isn't worth very much. I think around 56 cents. The whole body, if you analyze what is all the ingredients of the body, it's not worth, not even worth 56 cents, he's telling. But if one cannot distinguish between the car and the driver of the car, then he's just like a child. The Prabhupada is telling that if you remain ignorant, if you identify yourself with this car, I am car, then you're not the driver of the car. That is wrong. A child thinks the car is running automatically, but that is his foolishness. It's like I was giving the example of how when we were kids, I used to think at least, oh, it's running automatically. There's a pilot in the tail who is running that. So misconception of the instrument to be everything and without any driver. His body is what, I am this body. That is wrong understanding. That is foolishness, Prabhupada says. There's a driver, the child may not know, but when he's grown up and has been educated and still he does not know, then what is the meaning of his education? So Prabhupada is challenging the very system of education we have. What is the fallacy of the present education system? They are not giving them any who you are. Telling about instrument, the body, the vehicle, which you're using. That is the basic drawback, or the biggest, as Prabhupada says, the civilization. So Prabhupada is going to tell now that how studying Bhagavad Gita, you can begin your spiritual education. Sir is asking further, in the Western countries, the whole range of education covers only primary, secondary, or tertiary education. There is no place for an in-depth study of the soul. Right? Very honestly is admitting. Is what the present situation is. Anywhere in the education system, in either in India or any part of the world, they're all into what is known as technical education or scientific education of things around you, world around you. But nobody is teaching who you are. Nobody is giving any spiritual education about soul. That is the biggest, you can say, defect in the modern day education system. Prabhupada always pointed out this when he visited a university in America, the MIT, the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. He said, in your university, there are so many departments of knowledge, but I don't see any one department which is giving any education about soul. The soul is so vital in our body. I talked with one professor in Moscow. Maybe you know him, Professor Kotowski. He teaches at the Soviet Academy of Sciences. I had a talk with him for about an hour. The Prabhupada is trying to give his practical experience. How when he went to Russia, he met one professor in Moscow, Professor Kotowski, and for almost an hour, discussion went on. He said, after this body is annihilated, everything is finished. I was surprised that he told me this. Even the professor of Indian studies, he has concluded that after this body is over, everything is over. Just look at this understanding, Indian Vedic understanding. He is not even understood properly, which means Prabhupada is indirectly trying to tell us, somebody may try to understand the Vedic knowledge, but if he has not understood the things properly, he will again misunderstand. The whole Vedic understanding is what? Vedic conception is, you have to get eternal life. Our life is a journey. It's a continuous journey going on. Even this basic understanding, this professor doesn't have, who is a professor of Indian studies. Prabhupada says, I was surprised to hear this. He is known to be a very good scholar, but yet he still doesn't know about the soul. So ignorance of soul, ignorance of our eternal life is the biggest defect in the modern day civilization. Everybody is ignorant about this. Prabhupada has been repeatedly pointing out this again and again. We have an Indology course here given by a scholar from Vienna, but what he teaches, what kind of basic philosophy, I wouldn't know. There are about 40 students. In essence, they ought to start by making a detailed study of the Bhagavad Gita and use that as a basis for their whole philosophy. Though this professor is being quite, honest and trying to admit that, yes, I'm not sure what this professor in our university is trying to teach for students, but I feel that Bhagavad Gita's philosophy is quite scientific, and we have to adopt that philosophy. The Prabhupada says, why not appoint someone to teach Bhagavad Gita as it is? That is essential. So when this proposal from the professor came that yes, we have to take Bhagavad Gita's help, Prabhupada immediately offered, yes, we are ready to help. We can teach Bhagavad Gita as it is. Very essential knowledge. Our university almost has an obligation to make a study of these points in depth. See, the modern education also wants everything to be studied, researched properly. It's obligation, the professor says. By thoroughly studying Bhagavad Gita, one begins his spiritual education. You see, Bhagavad Gita is the synopsis of the entire Vedic literatures. It's going to give you direction how to conduct your life. It is logically, scientifically presented. And Prabhupada says, if you thoroughly study Bhagavad Gita, one begins his spiritual education. Because when you have ABCD proper, then things will go on properly. If your ABCD is not proper, then what happens? Everything is shaking. You don't even know the basics. So we'll conclude here. We'll continue our discussion in the next session with on the same topic. So anybody has anything to ask, discuss today's discussion, you can take a few questions or any suggestions, recommendations, comments. Okay. Right. So if nothing is there, then we'll close now and we'll continue our discussion next week again. Thank you, everybody. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.